Hey guys, I just finished watching episode 7, and this is just my raw reactions to The Dark Along the Ways. This is going to contain spoilers for the entire Wheel of Time book series, so if you haven't read the books, don't watch this. Just watch my, explained and unraveled videos instead. But I wanted to get just my raw reactions out. I loved it. I loved episode 7. I mean, look, every episode has had certain flaws. I think most people agree that some of the pacing has been a little bit choppy. My personal opinion is that the last 2 episodes were more focused on Lan and the Warders and Moraine and the Aes Sedai and Swan and the Tower. And those weren't bad things, but they definitely weren't exactly from the books. And my feeling is that they kind of wanted to do a lot of establishing and setting up stuff for later down the road. Like there's going to be a payoff later. They're doing a lot of setup for later. But that being said, I felt like the actual main characters of the books were kind of being ignored and forgotten. And to me, that was kind of a bummer. I mean, I haven't really been doing reviews on my channel. I've had people call me out for being dishonest because I don't actually give my reviews so much as I'm trying to explain the show to people who are non-readers, and I'm trying to help people who have read the books kind of come to terms with the fact that it's different and to remember different details. And I've been having a lot of fun doing that with my videos. But the bottom line is, I have had my own concerns building. From the first time I watched the first 2 episodes at the live event in Denver, I was like, oh man, the pacing is a little off. It feels a little rushed. And I think most of us agree. That being said, I like the show. I really like the show. And I like the last 2 episodes. But to me, this episode, episode 7, this is the first time where we finally, for me, it was like kind of like a sigh of relief. It was like, okay, now we have revealed who the dragon is. Now, there may still be some twists and turns. Just because Rand thinks he's the dragon doesn't necessarily mean it's that simple. And they sort of did this setup of maybe there's like a 5-headed dragon or whatever. We don't know yet. But what I do think is, as a book reader, I feel like I can kind of sigh a sigh of relief. And the reason for that is specifically the last couple episodes, as great as they were, focused on the Warders and the Aes Sedai and the Tower and Swan and Moraine's relationships, and the acting was great. And I thought the episodes were really important. But I've constantly felt like our main characters were just kind of being ignored or forgotten. And to me, it felt like the reason for that was specifically because they were trying to hide who was the Dragon Reborn. And because they wanted to keep this mystery, they couldn't show certain details like Rand's backstory and his father having fever dreams in the forest. Now, the way that was presented in this episode, I would be curious to hear non-readers' reactions to that, if they felt like that was a bit of a clunky, if that was kind of a clunky way of showing it, because suddenly we're like, oh, he knew from the beginning that his dad found him as a baby. Like, in the books, that's all set up very early on. You hear his dad rambling with his fever dreams about finding a baby very early on, and Rand is constantly wondering, like, is Tam even my real dad and stuff like that? Well, in the show, they were obviously trying to ignore all that, and they were trying to set up little red herrings here and there. And I'm not totally unhappy with how they did that, but it definitely felt like the entire first season was written with Moraine and Lan as the focus, with the mystery of the dragon being the focus. And it felt to me like, because of that, they had to kind of not pull back the curtain too much and show us everything. Now that they've finally done that, at least with Rand, and to be fair, I feel like we've got a lot more good backstory stuff with Nynaeve and Egwene and Perrin as well. Now, I gotta say, I watched the first half of this episode, and then I had to go do some stuff, and I didn't get to finish it. And I stopped right before the scene where all of the Two Rivers characters are in the fortress in Faldara, and they're all kind of arguing. And then they reveal that kind of awkward love triangle thing between Perrin and Egwene and Rand. I have to say, before I saw that scene, I was thinking to myself, I mean, they'd already revealed like Min and how she saw the visions, and she saw Rand with the baby, which is totally interesting. I liked a lot of that stuff. And the whole first episode, the stuff with the ways, yes, I felt it was rushed, but we got to hear Loyal explain a little bit about the ways, and that was very exciting for me. The way that Padam Fain was sort of presented in the show, I liked it. It wasn't perfect, but hey, it was pretty good. And overall, I was just like, man, I think this is gearing up to be my favorite episode in the season. But I hadn't seen that scene yet. And then the next scene, when I sat down to finish the episode, the next scene that I watched was that sort of awkward moment where Nynaeve accidentally spills the beans that Perrin had some sort of feelings for Egwene, and that maybe he didn't quite love Layla as much. And that whole thing felt really awkward to me and completely unnecessary, especially because love triangles are such a thing I don't... To me, that just felt a little cliche. But all that being said, overall, I love the episode. Obviously, the way that they revealed Rand was a bit rushed, but at the same time, it's like, finally, okay, now we can really get into the story as it was told, hopefully by Robert Jordan. I'm not saying that the next episode is suddenly going to be exactly from the book. I highly doubt that's the case. The Eye of the World in particular is a very confusing ending. My hope is that it's a little less confusing in the show. But anyway, I guess overall my reaction is sigh of relief. I'm very excited about what's to come. I can't believe we only have one episode left. Can you believe it? We've worked so hard to get to this point. I wanted to post this reaction video because my videos do take so long, and these types of reaction videos actually get a lot of views, and frankly, it's a little frustrating for me because I spend so much time on my deep dives, and it takes so long for them to get out that by the time they're out, I feel like people are already kind of sick of talking about the last episode. They just want to talk about the next one. And so the views on the videos I work so hard on aren't that high. If you haven't watched my deep dive videos, they're spoiler light or spoiler free for non-book readers. And I think they really do a good job of explaining the Wheel of Time to people who maybe don't understand what's going on. And I think they're really good refreshers for book readers as well. A lot of people say that the quality of my videos is really high. This is not that kind of video. I don't like doing this talking to the camera thing, but I do want to do videos a little bit more regularly, and so this is the kind of thing I'm going to do sometimes. Anyway, I've been rambling enough. The fact is, the show isn't like the books, but it's still good, and it's still fun. And yes, it's been a little bit rough around the edges. You can tell that editing Matt out and everything was kind of a pain. They didn't edit him out of the last 2 episodes. He wasn't there to shoot, but they did have to do some rewrites, and you can tell at the end of episode 6, The Flame of Tar-Valon, that they had to kind of figure out a way to get rid of him, and that was unfortunate. But at the same time, all things considered, with COVID, with some of the limitations with Matt leaving, and the fact that it's a first season and they had so much to present, and they chose to bring in like the Aes Sedai and the Tower and all this other stuff, like I'm just happy that we maybe some of those, as we've talked before, some of the threads in the pattern are different. How they got from the Two Rivers to the Eye of the World, different. But at the end of the day, we're going to get to the Eye of the World. At least I'm pretty sure. And I think we're going to learn a little bit more about the big bad guys. And I think that it's going to do a really good job of setting up the future things. It was, to me, some of the most exciting moments were that opening sequence. That was so cool, the opening sequence with the Aiel, and finding out that it was Rand's mother. Oh, that was awesome. And then seeing Tam help her give birth, that was really neat. I also love seeing Rand channel, and the fact that when he knocks down the door, they call back to that scene, but this time they show weaves of the One Power, tainted One Power, which is really awesome. That was really cool to me as well. Like I say, it was a little bit clunky. It was a little bit like, it felt like, oh, suddenly we're going to be like, oh yeah, it was Rand the whole time. Duh, look at these scenes, and give us more context. But I don't know. I'm curious to hear from non-book readers how they felt that went, if they felt it was presented well. I already said I was rambling, but I do feel like I'm rambling. This is what you get when I do raw reactions. I usually do very heavily scripted stuff. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me. We're almost to 14,000 subscribers. I think I'm a little past that. Would love to get to 15, maybe even 20 before the show ends, but I don't know if that's realistic. But anyway, thank you for your support. Watch my other videos, my deep dives, my animated WOT 101 videos, my spoiler light deep dives, my spoiler heavy deep dives for book readers, and most importantly, my episode breakdowns, which I feel I work pretty hard on those, and I really appreciate those who support those. Anyway, thank you guys. Don't forget you can also support me on Patreon, but that's not what this is about. This is just about the Wheel of Time, and look, we finally are getting to the Eye of the World. We're finally getting Rand, the dragon, and this is really exciting. I'm really interested to see where they're going to go with it, because obviously it's very different. I'm kind of doubting we're going to get the the Green Man. I'm kind of doubting that we're going to get some of those things from the first book, but I am very excited, and I guess I'll just leave it with that. Thank you guys. Talk to you later.